Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to the Mental Wellness Wake Up Show, a weekly podcast where growth minded, creative people come to learn best practices from both spirituality and psychology that create lasting well being. I am your host, mental wellness expert, improvised acting teacher, therapist, and coach, Dawn McMillan. Let's get to it. You know what, y'all? I am rethinking everything I think I know. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Yeah, I am rethinking everything that I think that I know. Well, obviously not everything, because that would mean I would do nothing else all day, because everything means a lot. But I'm really drawn to what Plato said was Socrates' point of view, which is the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. So much of 20th century science is being revealed to be incorrect or incomplete. For example, we used to think that your brain was set early in life. Now we know that the brain is incredibly elastic, that people can lose whole sections of their brain and recreate those behaviors or those skills using other parts of the brain. We now talk about brain elasticity, when 100 years ago, the brain was fixed. There is a crisis in psychology currently, where many of the foundational studies of the 20th century that determined our psychological theories and therefore our evidence-based psychological treatments cannot be replicated. They cannot be replicated. And in science, part of the way you know that the findings of a study are factual and accurate is that other scientists can replicate it. So if I do a study that determines that everyone who has green as their favorite color is left-handed, but then no one else is able to get those same results, then we question the fidelity of my study. So there's a huge replication crisis in psychology. I learned of a study recently, like even 10 years ago, we thought that telomeres, which are the ends of your cells, just get shorter and shorter and shorter, and that's what causes aging. So the best you can hope for is to slow it down, that they're just going to get shorter and shorter and shorter, and the cells are going to die. And that's the best you can hope for. The highest goal you can achieve is to slow that process down. Where a study came out recently where people actually were able to lengthen their telomeres, which means not slowing down your biological aging, but reversing it. Knowledge, the way that we are getting knowledge is accelerating at a rapid pace, and some of it is completely contrary to what we thought to be true 100 years ago, 50 years ago, and now 5 years ago. It's the common example that is used in psychology in my field or in personal development is, for a long time, people thought that the limits of the human body was 4 minutes, that no one could break a 4-minute mile. Then one person does, and now you got people who are out here running 1-minute miles. Okay, not yet, but maybe. So I really believe that it is important to question what it is that you think you know. For me, to question what it is that I think that I know, because what we think we know is based on what we have learned often. And sometimes what we have learned is not what's real or true. Hello, doggy. What I wonder about, and there's no way for me to know, what I wonder about is, has some of the stuff never been true and we just didn't have the means of finding out? Or are there things about the world or about us that used to be true but aren't anymore? That is a thought experiment that keeps my brain twisted. Like, did it used to be true that brains weren't elastic and now they are? Or did we just misunderstand the science and now we understand it better? One of my frustrations with us humans is we don't always go with the flow of new science. And I get it, right? There was a lot of criticism over the pandemic of, oh, well, first they were telling us this, and now they're telling us that. You can't believe anything a scientist tells you. Well, our knowledge changes. We do the best with the information that we have. And then when we get new information, we revise that. It's kind of like the way that we teach genetics to students, right? You don't teach a fourth grader the same way you teach a graduate student about genetics. And so if you are still living according to your fourth grade understanding of the world, you are missing out on things. And to say that, wait a minute, when I was in fourth grade, you all told me this. And now that I'm a graduate student, you're telling me this. I can't believe anything you people say, is to misunderstand the role of science. We are not moving forward in science with the idea that there is, what I know now is an absolute truth. We're just looking for greater and greater approximations of what is true. The more we learn, the more we refine the theory and the understanding to get closer and closer and closer to what is the truth. Okay, now let's go back to my field. My professional endeavors are in counseling. And you've heard me talk about ACT if you've been around here for a while. If you haven't been around here for a while, welcome. You're in a great company. You are in great company. I get to hear from people who listen to the podcast. They're awesome people. So if you are here, you're also awesome. If you came here because someone shared this podcast with you, thank you, sharer. And thank you for coming. I lost my train of thought. In my world, in my professional world of counseling, I listen to some of the precepts of acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, or out in the business world, it's acceptance and commitment training. And it acknowledges that truth cannot always be known. When it comes to the inner world, truth cannot always be known. We are still having this ongoing debate about what even is consciousness. Some people don't even believe it's there. Some people believe it's an artifact of the brain. Some people believe consciousness is something else. Not going to know anytime this week what the definitive answer is. And so ACT suggests we focus on what's useful. Not necessarily what's true, but what's useful. We can twist reality and our perceptions in order to biasly confirm what we want to be true. Or we can throw our hands up and say, I can't know anything, therefore I'm not going to do anything or accept anything. So let's talk about what is useful. Is it true that I will die if I stick a fork in an outlet? I don't know. I could live through it. Is it useful for me to believe that I am likely to die if I stick my fork in an outlet, an electrical outlet? Yeah. So I'm in this place where I am really, really questioning what it is that I think that I know and challenging myself to be open to new information. We used to believe that we would have a thought, I want to move my arm, and then we would move our arm. The neuroscience tells us now that the arm starts to move, the impulse to move the arm begins tiny little bits of nanoseconds before the conscious thought shows up in the brain. I can't make sense of that. I don't understand that, but it does require me to upgrade my priors to maybe behavior is more complicated than we thought. Yes? So this is my invitation to you to also rethink your priors. And I especially invite you to investigate those things about which, when you are challenged, you become defensive. Well, that's just the way things are, is the first place for us to get curious. And especially, well, that's just how I am. All identities are prisons. Because if any way that you define yourself requires you to reject anything that doesn't fit into that box, and some of us have much bigger boxes than other people. Oh, I'm the kind of person who limits your choices. If you're the kind of person who, that means there are other things that you simply cannot do. So what if you gave yourself a blank slate? So the way that I'm experimenting is, in safe ways, I'm kind of choosing to do the opposite of what I normally would do. For example, one of my tendencies is to fill silences and power gaps. If I notice that someone is struggling to figure something out, I have this very strong impulse to jump in and help. I hope you can hear the air quotes around help. I've gotten so much better over the last several decades of not doing that because I think it's annoying. If no one's asking for your help, why are you jumping in and fixing things for them? It's also disempowering. It can be disempowering for you to jump in and fix things for other people. Anyway, so one of the ways that had shown up for me in the past, that impulse to, like, if I see someone struggling, to immediately jump in and try to fix it, whether they want me to or not, or they've asked me to or not. One of that ways that can show up for me is filling silences. If a silence goes on too long, I'll jump in. For example, if a professor says, "Does anybody have any questions?" Out of sympathy for the professor, I'll be like, "Yeah, I was wondering how many rabbits were in that study," right? So what I've been challenging myself to do is to be quiet. I don't know if any of my castmates are a little freaked out about my behavior in rehearsal. I'm just challenging myself to just be quiet. Let other people fill the gaps. Let other people ask and answer the questions. Just challenging myself to be quiet, because that tendency that I have, I'm the kind of person who jumps in, is just a tendency. And do I wish to continue to choose that behavior? I don't know. So I'm experimenting. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I don't want to continue to be the kind of person who does that. But I'm an Aries, so I have to be bossy. And no, not living in that box. Thank you very much. So that's just an example that I share with you to invite you to consider all the things that you think you are. Oh, I'm just like this. All the ways that you think the world is. Oh, that's just how it is. That's just how it is. You have to do X because of Y. And just ask yourself, is that how you want to continue to move? Is it working well for you? Is it serving your purposes? Is it creating the life that you enjoy? If not, I mean, there's a possibility it may not even be true. There's a possibility it may not even be true. You may have learned in high school, da 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 da. Well, if you're not still in high school, the science may have changed drastically since then. Or not the science, our knowledge, our current theories, our best guesses on the nature of reality may have changed drastically since then. The way you were 10 years ago may not be serving the person that you are now. The relationships that you have created, you may be showing up in them in a way that no longer suits that relationship. What if, I don't know, what if when next time you went shopping, instead of going to your favorite store that you always find the things that you like, what if you went into a different store and tried on something that you were like, oh, that's so not me? I don't know. Or go thrifting and intentionally choose some things that are not you and wear them out in the world, see how it feels. All identities are prisons, they're boxes. Our current understanding of the world may be outdated, or my current understanding of the world may be outdated based on priors that there's new information to update. So what if we played with that? What if we I don't know, purposefully, on purpose, sought out information that challenges our deeply held beliefs. What if we had the courage to do that? I don't know. This is not a deeply held belief. I don't want to go political or something like that. Um, I believe that left-handed people are innately more creative because the left side of the body is controlled by the right side of the brain, and the right side of the brain tends to be more creative than the left side of the brain. I learned that in high school. It's been a few minutes since high school. What if I went and I started looking through the literature for information about whether creativity and left-handedness are as highly correlated as I thought they were? I mean, so yeah, let's update our priors. Let's be open to freeing ourselves from the boxes that we have created for ourselves based on our past, our astrology, our habits, the city that we're from, the hair color that we have. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm super curious to find out. So I'm just trying on new things, wearing different clothes a little bit, trying my makeup differently, being quiet sometimes when I have the urge to speak, speaking sometimes when I have the urge to be quiet, trying different kinds of tea, driving a different way to someplace that I'm going. Just, I don't know, reading different magazines than I normally choose, just upgrading my priors. And maybe you would enjoy experimenting with your identity, and you might find that you discover something you like better. You might get results that you enjoy more, or you might go, well, that was silly. There's a good reason I was doing it the other way, and move on. Want to play? Play is so good for us. And I, beloved, beautiful, gorgeous person, want you to play and do things that are so joyful and healthy for you because you're whole, perfect, and complete, and amazing, and deserve happy, joyful, lovely, wonderful things. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. I am so honored that you share time with me. If you've listened this far, then something here was of value to you. Would you please be a friend of the podcast and share it with at least one other person? The podcast is available on most platforms, including YouTube, and I need your help to get the word out. So please like, subscribe, and share, and a 5-star review on iTunes would be chef's kiss. Thank you so much. See you next time.